much, Madam President, and through you to the General of Gigawatts, the Minority Leader himself, and I appreciate his support and his recommendation of support both from the Minority Caucus and from all the members of the Senate here today. To go through broadly the bill that is before us, the Conference Committee report that is before us, I believe that it is a report that holds true to the principles that the Senate tried to build its energy bill off of in March when we debated it here in this body. To go back a little bit before that, though, I think it's important to remember where we were coming from. With two new chairs of the Telecom, Utilities, and Energy Committee this session, one of our priorities, having heard the several hundred bills that were before our committee, was to have an oversight hearing on the Green Communities Act. Clearly, there had been broad bipartisan support for the important steps that we had taken several sessions prior in the Green Communities Act, the Global Warming Solutions Act, by putting into statute the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, the Green Jobs Bill, and many other important pieces of legislation. What we wanted to do as a committee was take a broad review of that legislation, seek to build on what we were doing right, seek to improve what we were doing wrong, and hear from folks about the implementation of that legislation. On the whole, what we heard as a committee was positive feedback. We in Massachusetts are second in the nation when it comes to clean energy, first in the nation when it comes to energy efficiency as measured by the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. But we also heard legitimate concerns about the cost of those actions relative to the benefits. So what we sought to do was to craft a balanced step forward from that legislation to build on what was good with a particular eye towards making sure that the steps that were taken in the most cost-effective way possible, and that while we were moving forward, we had as much transparency, oversight, and accountability as possible built in to the system. So the structure of the bill that is before us, the foundation of the bill, is very similar to legislation that we debated here in the Senate in March. We increase the amount of renewable energy that we will procure through long-term contracts. In the Green Communities Act, we required up to 3% of each utility's peak load to be procured through long-term contracts. We add an additional 4% on top of that here in the bill that is before us. That energy will be procured through joint solicitations by the utility companies, unless an individual utility company can prove that they will save more by doing so separately. We reduce the incentives for that, recognizing that, again, we have to keep an eye towards cost when we procure through long-term contracts. We increase the amount of energy that can be generated and put into the grid through net metering. One of the things that we heard great support from all members, nearly all members of the Senate and many of our communities, was support for more distributed generation so that our grid could be more reliable and we could create more of our energy in our communities and produce it in that manner as well. We also build on support, sensible support for hydroelectric power here in the Commonwealth by increasing the amount of hydroelectric power that can count towards the utilities requirements under the RPS through both Class 1 and Class 2 renewable energy. We seek to do that by increasing the cap under Class 1 and under Class 2, and by creating a design and construction incentive program so that facility owners who want to meet the high environmental standard that we will hold them to, certification through the Low Impact Hydro Institute, have the ability and the resources to do such. Building on this, we also build on our first in the nation energy efficiency programs by expanding the membership of the Energy Efficiency Advisory Council so as to make sure that the voices that are involved in the implementation of that legislation, from those in real estate to our municipalities to the smaller energy efficiency service providers, all have a say in the design and the implementation of those energy efficiency programs. We also allow, through a pilot program, our largest commercial and industrial users the ability to have an accelerated rebate on their energy efficiency dollars, one that has to meet the strict guidelines of the Energy Efficiency Advisory Council and our program administrators, but to give those users flexibility to see if they are better able to meet their goals and the standards we have here in the Commonwealth by keeping those dollars instead of sending them to the state only to have to recoup them as well. Finally, while building on renewable energy and energy efficiency and our success in those areas is important, it is just as important, if not more so, that we do everything we can around transparency and oversight when it comes to the rate setting and rate making process to make sure that the hardworking families that we represent, the small businesses, the large businesses, aren't being asked to pay for something in rates that we don't consider a worthy expense. So what we do to try and make sure of that is to have a more regular rate case process every 5 years for our electric utilities, every 10 years for our gas utilities, to avoid rate spikes, and at the same point have a more predictable pattern for hardworking families and those businesses to know when their rates may change. Also, in between those rate cases, we accepted an amendment that was offered by the House around the allocation both of establishing a base rate and of various programs used through trackers to try and make sure that every rate class, commercial and industrial users, small industrial and residential, bears a proportional cost of the programs that we deem to be a worthy expense of ratepayer dollars. Finally, we also build into place something that I know the Minority Caucus was very supportive of, both here in the Senate and in the House, which is an independent commission to review these policies and programs several times over the next few years. Admittedly, I think that commission is a little bit smaller maybe than was proposed in total membership, but we believe it will serve an important function to provide future members, both of the Energy Committee and of the Senate as a whole, with the information they need to continue to build on the success that we have had in renewable energy, in energy efficiency, and broadly in our economy. Madam President, I believe that the final bill that is before us is an important step forward in meeting our goals, both when it comes to our economy and when it comes to our environment. We should not be forced to choose between the two. Doing the right thing for future generations should not come at the expense of doing the right thing for jobs in the economy right now. We can and should be able to meet both sets of those goals. And I absolutely believe in the conference report that we have put forward that we have shown a way to be able to do that. We do it by removing burdens and hurdles to developing formerly what seem to be worthless sites in landfills and allowing them to be used for the development of solar energy again, in building on the success of our utility-owned solar program in this legislation, and any number of different other steps. Madam President, I want to recognize the members of the Conference Committee, Chairman Brewer from Senate Ways and Means for his work, and from the Minority Caucus, Senator Hedlund for his input as we sought to move forward on this bill. I believe it again strikes the right balance between our environmental goals and our economic goals. It's my hope that this bill will be passed and will be sent to the governor's desk for his signature, and the administration have been partners in developing this and crafting this and hopefully soon implementing it. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the work of the staff. Madam President, both Bob Ross from your staff, Elizabeth Mahoney from my staff, and the various staff from Senate Ways and Means and from the Minority Leader's Office and others who have had input into this bill. I think we can and should be able to meet our clean energy and environmental goals without simply turning a blind eye to cost. I think in doing both, we will create jobs in clean energy and